In this lesson, we're going to be dealing with various topics relating to test preparation. We have finished most of the lessons, most of the new information that we will need for the certification exam. And I want to go back and review a few key points that you might see on a test. Today, we're going to deal with some of the more simple things. We're going to talk about applying fills to shapes and pages. We're going to deal a little bit with Smartart and add some fills to some Smartart. We're going to talk about converting text to tables. We're going to talk about multi-level lists. And then we're going to wrap up with adding hyperlinks and the various types of hyperlinks that you can see. For the first couple of items, we just need to simply start up Word. We're going to just start with a blank document. So with Word open, I'm going to open a blank document. Let me zoom in so you can see this a little better. And we're going to start by applying some shapes to our document. So we're going to go to Insert, Shapes, and it really doesn't matter which shapes you pick here, so long as they are a closed shape. So I'm going to go ahead and just add 3 shapes here. I'm choosing a square, a circle, and we'll do a star. It really doesn't matter what shapes you pick, just so long as they are 3 closed shapes. Now, with one of these shapes selected, so I'm picking the leftmost shape here, we're going to talk about a shape fill. When you click on shape fill, you can fill your shape with a variety of different colors. So if you are asked to fill this first shape with the color red, I can do that from my standard colors here. It's simple enough. We've done things along those lines before. Let's go to the second shape. On this shape, we're going to do a shape fill, but rather than filling it with a straight color, we can fill it with what's called a gradient. A gradient is where you have 2 or more colors blended together. So, you've got various types of gradients that you could use. You've got the lighter ones in the top, the darker ones at the bottom, or we can choose the more gradient options. Here, you can pick your gradient fill, alright, and you can pick your various colors that you can choose from. So where it says color right here, I'm going to click on the drop down. Let's pick one of these green colors for now. And you can take and slide these sliders up here. And I'm not looking for a particular spot right now, but you can see that by sliding this slider, it changes the way the color changes from one color to the next. If you don't want the gradient to go top to bottom, you can choose your direction over here, where you can choose, for example, a diagonal gradient and go from top left corner to bottom right corner. So at this point, I don't care what colors you pick, but I do want the direction of this gradient to be a linear diagonal bottom right to top left. Basically this diagonal gradient here. And all a gradient does is changes from one color to another. So that's an example of a gradient fill. Let's go to our third shape here, and clicking on our shape fill one more time, we can also fill a shape with a texture. So looking at my textures, I can come in here and I can pick a texture. I'm going to choose for this particular shape the water droplets texture. And what that does is it changes the color of, or the inside picture if you will, to a texture. Now on this particular one, I might want to get rid of the outline. So if I click on the shape outline, I can say no outline, and that would remove that shape outline as well. So we've added three different types of fills to our three shapes: a solid color, a gradient, and a texture. Now, let's say that you wanted to add a texture to your entire page. Now for this, I want to click away from all my shapes, so I don't want any shape selected. And we're going to go to our Design tab. Clicking on the Design tab. Here, I can choose my page color. Well, just as with our shapes, we can pick a page color that's a solid color, or we can come down to Fill Effects, and one of the effects that we can pick from this box that opens up is what's called a texture. So I can now apply a texture. I'm going to pick this top left texture. The name is right here. It's called Papyrus. Okay. I'm going to choose the Papyrus texture, click OK, and apply that texture to the entire page. Just zooming out so that you can see that it's been applied to the entire page. So, in this particular activity, we applied various types of fills to a shape as well as to our page. Now let's add a Smartart graphic. Again, you don't want any specific shape selected. Let's go to Insert and choose our Smartart Graphics. Now some of these graphics do have shapes associated with them. The one that I want to pick is going to be part of the All group. It's called a stacked list. So I'm going to click on Stacked List and click OK. That adds the item in. Now I'm going to want to move this down a bit so it's out of the way of the shape. So I'm going to click over here on the text wrapping tool, and I'm going to have this in front of the text, and then I can move this down. Now here I have my Smartart graphic, so I could type in over here teachers, and over here I can type in admin. So if I wanted to, I could type out the teachers here. I could type in Mr. Miller. I could type in Miss Brim, just to name two of them. Over here, I could type in Miss Hicks and Miss Daniel. Alright, now the point that I wanted to get with this particular Smartart is that these two shapes, the circles here, could also be filled in. So I'm going to click on the teacher's circle over here, and I'm going to apply a fill to this shape. I do that using my Format tab, just like I did the shapes up above. I'm going to do my Shape Fill. I'm going to add a texture, and let's use, since it's a maritime theme, let's use the water droplets. I'm going to repeat the same for admin. I'm going to go to Shape Fill, Texture, Water Droplets. Now I don't really see the text as well in here, so I want to change the text color. That can be done in the Home tab. I'm going to change that text color. Let's see what black looks like. That's a lot better. Let's just change the text color to black. Over on this one, I'm going to repeat the same process and change the text color here. Let's save this file. File, Save As. We're going to put this in our computer, specifically in My Documents. We're going to create a new folder with today's date. So I'm going to type in January. Okay. Open that folder up. And I'm going to call this Test Prep 1. Test Prep 1 And as we always do, we type in our initials at the end. Test Prep 1. Now that we've saved this particular file, we're going to go ahead and close this file. And that'll take us to the point where we need to open another file. Alright, let's go to Class Files, IIT, and our Microsoft Word data files. And here you're going to see a file called Test Prep 2. So let's open up Test Prep 2. And we're going to save this file, Save As, and put it in that dated folder that you created just a moment ago. And we're going to add your initials to this file. In this file, we want to talk for a second about converting text to a table. In order to illustrate this, I'm going to turn my Show Hide on so that you can see where the Tab key was pressed. Alright? What I want to do is I want to turn this top portion, everything from RBMA staff down to Dr. Abrams, I want to turn this into a table. So I'm going to select this. Okay, if this were a test question on a certification exam, it might say something like this. Select the text from RBMA staff through Dr. Abrams and convert that to a table. So if it says to convert that to a table, we're going to go to Insert Table, and we need to convert that to a table. Now we're not going to accept the default settings. We're going to change these, and if this were a test question, it would have to tell you these items. So for example, it might say, set the number of columns to be 2, and separate the table at the tabs. Alright? And finally, the last thing it might say is to auto-fit the contents of the table. I click OK, and I now have a table that's been created based on the settings that were just given. Now, I want to modify the way this table looks, so I'm going to select the RBMA staff, and with this selected, I'm going to go to the Layout tab. Many of the things we're going to do here is going to be on the Layout tab. I want to merge these two cells together so they become one cell. And then I wish to center the text in that cell. For the administration row, I also want to merge the cells, but I don't want to center the text. The next 3 rows are fine the way they are, but when it comes to teachers, I wish to also merge those cells together. So I've selected the teacher cell and the blank cell that followed. The last couple items I want to do is I want to select administration, and on the Home tab I'm going to make that text bold, and let's change the color to red. And I'm going to do the same with teachers, bold and red. The last thing I'm going to do to this table is we're going to select the RBMA staff. I'm going to increase the size a little bit to size 16. I'm also going to make the text bold, but this time the color that we're going to pick is going to be blue. So I now have my table that has been created using the settings that were given. The next thing you may be asked to do is to deal with a multi-level list. Now, when I taught this last quarter, we talked about a multi-level list. It's much easier to go ahead and type out the list first and then do your multi-level list, which is what's happened here. So here, we're going to select everything from English credits down to marine science. So I'm selecting from English credits down to marine science. Now the multi-level list is similar to our bulleted list. Our numbered list, the one we want, is up here where it says multi-level list. Now for this multi-level list, we could pick any one of these options that are up here. The one that I wish for you to pick is the one that's got the 1 parenthesis, followed by the little a parenthesis, followed by the I parenthesis. So I click on that option. Now when we do that, all the items become on the same level, meaning they're all numbered from 1 to 11. Now what I need to do here is I need to select the items that should be indented. So for example, under number 1 I've got English credits. Well, the next two items, journalism and English 1, 2, 3, and 4, are examples of English credits. So I select these two items, and I can either press the Tab key on my keyboard, or I can come up to my ribbon and choose Increase Indent. Either one amounts to be the same thing. Now for our math credits, we're going to select our 3 math credits below, Algebra 1, Algebra 2, and Geometry. I either click on the Increase Indent, or I'm going to press on my keyboard the Tab key. Does the same thing. And finally, Biology, Chemistry, and Marine Science. These are all examples of science credits, so they should be indented. So I select the 3 items and I indent by either Tab or Increase Indent. Let's talk for one moment about hyperlinks. A hyperlink allows you to navigate to another spot either in the document or in a website. So I'm going to select, we're going to do a website first. I'm going to select RBMA here. And let's say that I wanted to create a hyperlink to the RBMA website. I'm going to click on Insert, Hyperlink. Notice that the text to display at the top already has what we've typed in, okay, the RBMA. So at the bottom, I'm going to type in our website address, which is www.rbmaritime.org. When I click OK, this becomes a hyperlink that, if clicked, would open up the Riviera Beach Maritime website. Well, you can also hyperlink to other things within the document. So for example, let's say I wanted to select the word geometry, and I wanted to hyperlink that to this table up here. Alright, with geometry selected, I can click on hyperlink. What I can do is I can choose place in this document. Alright, now the table that we're talking about is at the top of the document, so I can choose top of document here. And what this will do is create a hyperlink that will take me to the top of the document. I click OK. Now it's a hyperlink that if I clicked on it, and notice that the prompt when you point at it says Control click to follow, means I have to hold down the Control key on my keyboard, and when I click, it will take me to the top of my document, which is what the hyperlink was said to do. Now at this point, you're going to want to save this file, File Save. We've already given it a name, so we don't need to do a Save As. We could have also used the Save tool up here. And that wraps us up with this particular activity. You can close this file. What we talked about today was applying fills to both shapes and pages. We talked about the solid fill, the gradient fill, and the texture fill. We showed you how you could apply those fills to your Smartart Graphics as well. We converted text to tables. Without just accepting the default settings, we had to look and use various settings there. We showed you how to work with a multi-level list and then we showed you two different ways of creating a hyperlink, one to a website and one to another part within the document.